Introduction. When we observe a plant, then we see that every plant has roots, stem, and leaves. Plants also have flowers and fruits. We have already discussed characteristics, types, modifications, and functions of roots. Now we will study stem.
Objectives. At the end of this lesson, you'll be able to find out characteristics of stem, study types of stems, identify modifications of reduced stems, find out underground modifications of stems, study subaerial modifications of stems, study aerial modifications of stems, study special modifications of stems, and understand functions of stems. Stems. The stem is the ascending part of the axis, bearing branches, leaves, flowers, and fruits. Stem is generally green when young, and later often become woody and dark brown. A stem is one of two main structural axes of a vascular plant. It develops from the plumule of the embryo of a germinating seed. In most plants, stems are located above the soil surface, but some plants have underground stems as well. The stem is normally divided into nodes and internodes. The nodes hold buds which grow into one or more leaves, inflorescence flowers, cones, or other stems, etc. The stem bears buds, which may be terminal or axillary. A young undeveloped shoot with an immature axis having a growing point surrounded by many closely packed tender leaves is called bud. Branching of stem. The mode of arrangement of branches on the main axis of stem is known as branching. The two principal types of branching are lateral branching, dichotomous branching. Lateral branching. When the branches arise from the sides of the stem, the branching is called lateral. The mode of branching in which the growing point does not bifurcate. The branches arise from the axillary buds of the nodes. It is of two types: racemose, chymose. Racemose. When the stem indefinitely grows by the terminal bud, the lateral branches of the main stem are arranged in an acropetal succession, produced successively towards the apex, with the older branches towards the base and younger ones towards the apex. As a result of this branching, the plant appears conical or pyramidal in shape. Chymose. When the growth of the main stem is definite, the main stem produces lateral branches which grow more vigorously than the main axis. As a result of this branching, the plant spreads out above and becomes more or less dome-shaped. Chymose is of three types: uniparous-chyme, biparous-chyme, multiparous-chyme. Uniparous-chyme. A chymose type of branching with only one lateral branch produced at a time. It is known as monocaseal or sympodial. It shows two distinct types, namely helicoid and scorpioids. Biparous-chyme. When two lateral branches develop at a time, the branching is said to be biparous or dicasial. Example: Datura, Carissa. Multiparous-chyme. When more than two branches develop at a time, the branching is said to be multiparous or polycasial. Example: Euphorbia, Croton bonplandianums. Dichotomous branching. When the terminal bud bifurcates, producing two branches in a forked manner, the branching is called dichotomous branching. It is common among the cryptogams and also in some angiosperms like screwpine, pandanus, clinogyne dichotoma, etc. Modifications of stem. Change in form to perform functions other than normal is called modifications. On the basis of habitat, stem can be modified into three categories: underground modification of stem, subaerial modification of stem, aerial modification of stem. Underground modifications of stem. The underground stems, by being situated below the surface of the soil, protect themselves against unfavorable conditions of weather and the attack of animals, and serve as storehouses for reserve food and in vegetative propagation. Their stem nature can be distinguished by the presence of nodes and internodes, scale leaves at the nodes, axillary buds in the axils of scale leaves, and a terminal bud. The underground stems are of four types, namely rhizome, tuber, bulb, and corm. Rhizome. A rhizome is a thick horizontally growing stem which usually stores food material. It has nodes and internodes, scale leaves, axillary buds, adventitious roots, and a terminal bud. Scale leaves enclosing the axillary buds are seen arising from the nodal points of the stem. Roots develop from the lower surface of the rhizome. Example: ginger, turmeric. Tuber. Tuber is a swollen end of an underground branch which arises from the axil of a lower leaf, which grows horizontally outwards in the soil. Each tuber is irregular in shape due to the deposition of food materials, starch. On the surface of each tuber, many leaf scars are seen. These leaf scars are the impressions of fallen scale leaves. Each such leaf scar encloses an axillary bud. A leaf scar with an axillary bud is called an eye. These eyes of potato are capable of producing new plants by vegetative propagation. Example: potato. Bulb. In bulb, the stem is reduced and shown by a short disc. The lower surface of the stem produces many adventitious roots. Examples: onion, garlics. In bulbs of onion, garlic, etc., the inner leaves are fleshy, while the outer ones are dry. This is called as tunicated bulb, since the concentric leaf bases form a complete covering or tunic. The apical bud of the bulb produces shoot. Corm. A corm is a greatly swollen underground basal portion of an erect stem. The swelling is due to the storage of reserve food material. It bears scale leaves and axillary buds. At the end of the growing season, the aerial parts die. In favorable conditions, usually one axillary bud near the apex develops into a new shoot utilizing the food reserve material in the old corm. The new plant produces a new corm at its base. The earlier corm shrivels off. Examples: colocasia, amorphophallus. Subaerial modification of stem. In some plants, the subaerial stems are modified for the purpose of vegetative reproduction. Subaerial modifications are of the following types: runner, stolon, sucker, and offset. Runner. The runner rises from the base of the stem as a lateral branch and runs along the surface of the soil. It develops distinct nodes and internodes. At each node, the runner produces roots below and leaves above. In this way, many runners are often produced by the mother plant and they spread out on the ground on all sides. If any accidental injury results in the separation of a runner, the severed parts are capable of leading an independent existence. Examples: oxalis, fragaria, centella astatica. Stolon. A stolon has lateral branches called stolons originate from the underground stem. The stolons grow horizontally outwards for a varying distance in the soil. Ultimately, their end terminal bud emerges out of the ground and develops into a new plant. A runner, sucker, or any basal branch which produces roots is called a stolon. Example: colocasia. Sucker. A lateral branch arising close to the ground level, traveling underground for some distance, turning up at its end, and producing a new plant is a sucker. Example: chrysanthemum. Offset. An offset is a short, thick, runner-like branch which produces a new plant at its tip. The offsets grow in all directions from the main stem of the parent plant. If any accidental injury results in the separation of these units, each is capable of leading an independent existence. Example: pistia, eichhornia. Aerial modification of stem. In some plants, the aerial stem is modified to perform a variety of special functions. Aerial modifications are of the following types: phylloclade or cladophyle, cladode, stem thorns, stem tendrils, and bulbil. Phylloclade or cladophyle. A phylloclade is a flattened stem of several internodes functioning as a leaf. In Opuntia, the stem is modified into a green flattened structure called phylloclade. On the surface of the phylloclade, clusters of spines are formed. These spines are the modified leaves of the axillary bud. These spines not only check the rate of transpiration, but also protect the plant from herbivores. The phylloclade has distinct nodes and internodes. Example: Opuntia. Cladode. A phylloclade of one or two internode is called a cladode. There are no suitable examples of cladodes because ruscus and asparagus, which are often considered as cladodes, are in reality cladophyles. A cladophyle is a flattened leaf-like stem arising in the axils of a minute, bract-like true leaf. Stem thorns. The thorn is a hard, straight, and pointed structure. Thorns are small, modified stems. In Bougainvillea and Duranta, the axillary bud is modified into a thorn. In Carissa, the terminal bud is modified into a pair of thorns. The thorn sometimes bears leaves, flowers, and fruits as seen in Duranta and pomegranate. The thorns not only check the rate of transpiration, but also protect the plants from herbivore grazing. Examples: Carissa, Duranta, citrus. Stem tendrils. Tendrils develop as modifications of the stem in certain plants. The terminal bud gives rise to a tendril in Cissus quadrangularis, and the axillary bud becomes modified into a tendril in Passiflora. Bulbil. Bulbil is a special multicellular body essentially meant for reproduction. In agave, the floral buds are modified into bulbils. These bulbils get detached, come in contact with the soil, and develop into new plants. In Dioscorea, the axillary bud develops into a bulbil. This bulbil detaches from the mother plant and grows up into a new independent one. Primary functions of stems. Stems have following types of functions: primary or main function, secondary or accessory functions. Primary or main function of stem: it supports and holds leaves, flowers, and fruits. The stem conducts the water and minerals from the roots to leaves, flower, and fruits. The leaves are borne on stem in such a fashion that they are able to carry on the important function efficiently, like receiving sunlight and gaseous exchange. The stem bears flowers and fruits in position to facilitate the processes of pollination and fertilization. Secondary functions of stems. Perenation. The underground stems, as in zingiber, curcuma, and Dryopteris, help the plants to overcome the unfavorable conditions. Storage of food. Food is stored in parenchymatous cells and underground stems like Solanum tuberosum, Colocasia, ginger. As climbers, the stems may be modified into tendrils, hooks, thorns, etc. to climb like Passiflora, Bougainvillea, and Vitis vinifera. Photosynthesis. When stem is modified into phylloclade and cladode like in Opuntia, Asparagus, and Ruscus, young leaf-like flattened stems help in photosynthesis. Secondary functions of stems. Vegetative propagation. Stem can be used for vegetative propagation, as in case of runners like grass, stolons like strawberry, offsets like Eichhornia, and underground stems like potato, ginger. Secondary functions of stems. Protection against browsing. By developing thorns, stems protect plants from grazing. Did you know? Woody climbers or twiners are known as liana. Thickened part of aerial stem is known as pseudobulb, and it stores water and other reserves in orchards. In banana suckers are known as sword suckers. Summary. Let us summarize what we have learned. The shoot system is differentiated into stem, leaves, flowers, and fruits. The basic morphological features of stem are presence of nodes and internodes, multicellular hair. The stem is positively phototrophic. The stem also gets modified to perform various functions such as storage of food, vegetative propagation, and protection.